The Dragon Quest franchise has a lot of games. There's something for everyone in the extensive catalogue. But what about something for all you motion control fans? Many of you might be familiar with the Nintendo Wii title Dragon Quest Swords, but if not, don't worry, I'll get to that soon. But did you know that there was a precursor to the Dragon Quest Swords game? And if you did know, have you ever actually played it? Today we're going to explore the past, the present, and the future of Dragon Quest motion controls. Kenshin Dragon Quest was released in September of 2003 and was actually not written by Yuji Horii, although Sugiyama and Akira Toriyama were still involved. And here's my copy right here. Unlike most games, Kenshin Dragon Quest did not require you to own a console when you bought it. It's a dedicated TV game. I can't deny it looks freaking cool. But looking a little bit closer at the console, you'll see at the front there's these little sensors. If you've ever played Dragon Quest Swords, then you'll know the score here. You swing your sword and you fight things. That's how you play the game. But in Dragon Quest Swords, you're swinging around a silly little Wii remote. No, not in Kenshin Dragon Quest. Kenshin Dragon Quest, you get to be a real hero. You get a sword. Okay, it's a bit of a dinky looking sword, but better than a Wiimote. But is the game actually any good? Well, I've set it up for screen recording, which was an absolute nightmare, so let's give it a go. We are just going to play stage 1. I've got the sword ready. You can see it's being tracked. It's on top of my desk, and to be at the right height, I have to be kneeling on the floor. Yes, thank you, Mr. King. Oh, slime. I'm already encountering some tracking issues. So this thing has a 45-degree field of view and it's very difficult to gauge where exactly I'm meant to be. Getting the horizontal slashes is actually quite difficult. I do have an idea for how I might be able to slightly improve my tracking. You might notice that this sword has a bit of a worn coating on it, like a glossy metallic coating. What's the answer to that? Aluminium foil. Now it looks a bit more like a child's prop sword, but let's see. Already I can tell this is considerably better. It's more consistently detecting my slashes. This was a huge improvement. Ooh, the Cave of Rota. I've got an aluminium foil sword. You've got no shot. If you sort of flail randomly, you don't get very good tracking. You have to be very intentional with it. New enemy type. Too quick, I think. You've got to bit slower and more intentional. That was it. Sort of a slow but purposeful movement. 2 rocks coming up. There's an item behind one of them. I know that because I've played this section before. Okay, the tracking's not perfect, but it's actually kind of fun. We've met our first boss monster. Here we go. Let's take him down. Ooh, he's got the ability to block. Let's try another spell. Aha! Got him. I was supposed to direct the spell with my sword. And that's it. We made it to the town. Stage 1 cleared. So the game's actually not that bad. But what if you wanted to go out and actually buy it? Now, you'll probably find it complete really cheap. But the problem's right here. The sensor. It's honestly a minefield for broken sensor units. By all means, if you want to give this game a go, track down a working one. Make sure you double, triple, quadruple check that it is working. And give it a try because it's not bad. Let's move forward just a few years to a game that we did actually get. Dragon Quest Swords. This is what I'd consider the definitive version. There are even some mini-games which are actually present in both this and Kenshin Dragon Quest. So if you want to swing your arm around and pretend you're a Dragon Quest hero, this is the easiest way to do that. So why don't we just hop on over to the Wii and give this one a go? Alright, we're all set up. Let's open Dragon Quest Swords. I've got the Wiimote above my TV so I can actually move around and stand rather than kneel on the floor. You can see that there was a little bit of a graphical upgrade between Kenshin Dragon Quest and Dragon Quest Swords. So we have some added features now. We can choose our focal point. Now that does help a lot in some ways with some of the problems that I was having in Kenshin Dragon Quest. I didn't really know where in the field of view to swipe. But if I can now, obviously I have a cursor now that I can see, that sort of alleviates those problems because I know that I'm going to be swinging in the right spot, and then the only variable I need to consider is what angle of swing I do. You have to maintain the controller being level, which means rather than doing proper swipes, you have to do more like that, which that's something that Kenshin Dragon Quest does have over Dragon Quest Swords. If you want to really feel like you're swinging a sword, Kenshin Dragon Quest gets that feeling a little bit better. Mighty Strike. See, I have to say that is so much better than the spell casting in Kenshin. Because Kenshin, I sort of had to just get really close to try and open the spell menu and then choose a spell, swipe, and then position it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mind that system, but it's kind of hard to do well. At least for me. But again, maybe I'm just really bad. I just prefer this system. Here we are. But it's the same game. It's basically Kenshin Dragon Quest, just upped a little bit. The environments are better, obviously, because we've got some real hardware to work with. The hits feel more satisfying because they have some feedback from the controller. But at the end of the day, we've still got some clunkiness and inconsistencies with tracking. Motion, same idea. Everything, overall, is basically the same idea as Kenshin Dragon Quest. If you've been enjoying this video so far, please consider liking it and subscribing if you want to see more. You gonna disappoint him? You gonna let him down? I'm only joking. Let's get right back to it. So, Dragon Quest Swords. Have you played it? And do you enjoy it? I tend to feel like online, people's feelings on the game are a little bit mixed. Thing is, for many, that would be considered the end of the story for Dragon Quest motion controls, because since Dragon Quest Swords, they've not bothered. But all I've talked about is the past. What about the present? Is there a present in Japan? Maybe there is. In 2018, VR Zone Shinjuku in Japan released a Dragon Quest experience, where you can go with a party of friends and experience Dragon Quest in whole room tracked virtual reality. Now, obviously I can't go and experience that, and VR Zone Shinjuku has since closed down, but fear not, it has simply moved. Now that is the most immersive form of motion controls we've got. Not only do we have hand tracking, we also have head tracking. If I was able to just get on a plane right now and go and play, that sounds pretty cool to me. But I can't do that. I can't. There is something I can do at home which would let me just have a taste of that experience. Sure, I could go and play another VR game, I can pull out my Quest 2, but I want to play Dragon Quest in VR. Is that possible? Funnily enough, it actually is. Dragon Quest 11. Now, Dragon Quest 11 was developed using the Unreal Engine, and some very intelligent people have managed to make all Unreal Engine games playable in virtual reality using something called UEVR. I'll just show their names here so they get the credit they deserve. So I'm going to pull out my VR headset. I dust it off because frankly it's been quite a while. Let's play some Dragon Quest in virtual reality. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the setup for this was actually abysmal. I had so many crashes at first, but eventually, I guess I got it working. He is so tiny. He is like 1 foot tall, because honestly, it's more like I'm one of 11's party members and I'm just following him from behind. But I can look around and it does feel like I am in the Heliodor region. I am going to hit my head on this pillar, but that's absolutely fine. See, for you, I know this for a fact, the UI never go. You're seeing what I'm seeing, but you're also always seeing the UI. I do not always see the UI. The UI is fixed, so when I look away, I lose the UI. But it's so trippy to, I mean, look off in the distance and actually see the Kingdom of Heliodor, and look behind me and just see a tree. And I'm seeing so much depth. See, this is probably one of the coolest moments for me. Just being able to look around and see myself in the tunnel. You'll see a cable now because my battery dropped low, so I've had to plug myself in. The actual scale of the kingdom walls is really quite something to look at. See, the loading screen is still just there. Oh. See, now normally you can't look around in this cutscene, but I can. I'm really actually impressed by how good this software is. I can imagine for games that are actually in first person, it must... Those birds just flew at me. If a game's actually in first person, it must be really, really quite impressive. It's just really cool to be able to look around the world of Dragon Quest. Everything feels so much bigger. Gameplay's not ideal. I wouldn't really want to play the whole game like this, but as like a little experience, yeah, it's cool as hell, frankly. It's really, really cool. I'm very impressed. Although a little bit nauseating for me, that was a really actually quite enjoyable experience. The feeling of being in the world of Dragon Quest was something I hadn't actually experienced before. Huge props to the developers. It can be easy to turn a non-VR game into a VR experience and allow you to see what you normally can't see. The program is only in beta, but I will link it in the description if you want to try it for yourself. It might not be the full-scale VR experience that you can see in Japan. It is a taster of Dragon Quest in virtual reality, which is something that in the home we don't have. But that's the present state of Dragon Quest motion. In the home setting, it's a very much forgotten thing. I think motion controls and that sort of experience has its place, and it's abundantly clear that going forward, that place is in VR. Other than that experience over in Japan and that plugin you can download unofficially, it's something that Dragon Quest hasn't really delved into yet. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get something in the future. I'd happily play some kind of short spin-off adventure in virtual reality. That would be a really cool experience. Even optional side VR modes. Do I think we'll get anything? Not anytime soon, at least. I hope that one day motion controls in Dragon Quest do make something of a comeback. I do think that VR is the only real way to implement that. Let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in, or if it's just me. Just comment down below and let me know. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.